The commercial aerospace sector is currently experiencing a period of significant growth on the back of rising passenger levels, in particular in the Far East and the Asia-Pac region, and also on the transition to the newer aircraft, being the Boeing 787 and the Airbus A350. So in terms of passenger growth, in particular in the Far East, over the last 10 years, the Far East has accounted for at least half the growth in the aerospace sector, and currently the Asia-Pac region accounts for at least 40% of all airline orders. In terms of a transition to the new aircraft, this is on the back of us demanding a better cabin experience and the aerospace sector wanting to at least halve its emissions and therefore needing more efficient aircraft. We recently completed some research with ICF International, formerly Aerostrategy, who are the leading commercial aerospace DD providers in the UK. And we launched our findings at a breakfast held in London ahead of Farnborough, which is the leading air show. And we had a number of aerospace leaders attend the breakfast where we discussed our findings. The first was that the Tier 1 suppliers were consolidating. There was a real demand from the OEMs to have larger, higher quality, better financed, well capex suppliers in the aerospace sector. And this was forcing a number of the Tier 1s to consolidate so they could increase their shipset values that they were supplying into the OEMs. So a good example would be the current deal with United Technologies and Goodrich. Another finding was that the Tier 3 and Tier 4 suppliers were also consolidating. Again, these suppliers were being demanded that they invest more heavily into their capital equipment and into their working capital, and they were able to supply more globally, which was another finding, which was an increasing globalization within the aerospace sector. As I said earlier, the Far East is accounting for over half the growth at the moment, and there's a need for the aerospace suppliers to be local to their markets and also get access to the lower wages that you can find in places like China. And interestingly, China seems to be growing in its importance in the aerospace sector. It's going to be the major country in aerospace growth over the next 20 years, and therefore there's lots of aerospace suppliers, particularly the OEMs, that are setting up at the moment in China and forming aerospace clusters. And our final finding was that most of the PE-backed businesses that have been invested in haven't yet exited. So this is forming a real backlog at the moment in the aerospace sector in terms of M&A, where back in 2007 there were 175 investments in the aerospace sector by private equity houses across the world, and only 30 of them have exited so far. So as you can see, there's a huge amount of M&A yet to happen in the aerospace sector. Over the last 12 months, there's been nearly 200 deals in the aerospace sector, which was a real surprise for us. This is back to the levels of 2007, which is our benchmark for all M&A, which was the peak of M&A. And what we're finding is that the current pricing is also really high. Over the last 12 months, the average EBITDA multiple paid for aerospace businesses has been 10.4 times. Now, this compares to 11 times back in 2007. So the biggest multiples are being paid in the 50 to 100 million range, where the current multiples are about 11.4 times EBITDA. But in the sub 10 million sector, the multiples are only about 2.9 times. So it looks to us like M&A is back, where it was back in 2007, which is quite a high. So this is good news for the aerospace sector. Things feel really bullish to us in the aerospace sector at the moment. There's very strong demand with high order books. Certainly competition feels very fierce out there, but that seems to be driving some high levels of M&A at the moment, with people wanting to acquire significant places on the current platforms. So I think there's going to be a lot of M&A and growth feels good.